divisions, 4 hosts, all battling it out for the Holy Grail of the American Hockey League, the Calder Cup. This is the Holy GrAHL podcast with Andrew Rinaldi, Deana Weinheimer, Jeremy Paul, Michael Liu, and Zack Power.
Well, hello again. We have another full week of hockey in the books. Welcome to episode 8 of Field Pass Hockey's AHL podcast, The Holy GrAHL. Here at The Holy GrAHL, we are all about the American Hockey League and their yearly race to their Holy GrAHL, the Calder Cup. But as always, before we get too far into this, we are going to go around the screen here and introduce ourselves. Let's go back to alphabetical order. Why not? I'm a bit of a traditionalist. Let's go ahead and kick it off with Andrew.
Yeah, I love this alphabetical order stuff. I'm Andrew Rinaldi. I cover the Chicago Wolves and Grand Rapids Griffins here at Field Pass Hockey. And yeah, it's December. We're in the dog days of the season now.
And I'm Deana Weinheimer. I am one of 2 correspondents here at Field Pass Hockey covering the Cleveland Monsters and, of course, your AHL editor. And boy, what a newsworthy couple weeks it's been here in the American Hockey League, but we'll get to that here in a minute.
Oh.
I think Jeremy's on mute,
Yeah,
or it's not working.
He's still muted.
Oh, no.
One second.
We will wait for you, my friend.
The spirit of live TV, we could talk about how fun Zoom is and all these other platforms. And one of these days you can tell your kids, like, oh, I had to use Zoom. It sucked.
Yeah.
And they're going to be using something that's like virtual meeting, and like it'll just be all virtual reality, and they can walk up to their best friends, and it will just be
the hologram. Everyone's got like this boardroom, and you got the VR sunglasses on, and like you look over, it's like, ooh, hello.
There we go.
Yeah, you're high-fiving in VR.
All right. Well, Zack, Jeremy, we'll get back to you and introduce you as soon as we can get whatever technical issues are going on there. So that way we can get on with our special guest. But Zack, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I'm Zack. I'm covering the Toronto Marlies in the North Division. It's always a fun and exciting time when you're in such a tightly contested division. So yeah, we're into December, like I said. So it's cold, but on ice, it's getting to its boiling point. I could tell you that.
All right, and we have a very special guest that just popped in here. So before we get too far into the show, we'll just go ahead and welcome him. He is your TV and radio broadcaster and the director of communications for the Utica Comets. Jason, welcome to the Holy GrAHL. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Before I entered the studio, it said amazing lighting. Lighting will make you look amazing. Well, I have one light in my entire apartment, so hopefully this will do.
It looks good to me. I get that notification all the time in StreamYard, and it's just, well, okay. Eventually, I broke down and bought a ring light, so I get it. So just for our listeners and viewers, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself in your current role over in Utica?
Sure. I started out in hockey, I think, in 2004 as a play-by-play broadcaster in the United Hockey League. And just through the evolution of being in the business long enough, you stick around, you submit a good demo reel to somebody who actually believes in you, you end up getting hired and work your way up. So I worked my way through the UHL, eventually ended up in the ECHL in Charlotte. We became an American Hockey League team and then worked there for 13 years until the pandemic. And also during that time, spent time with the Carolina Hurricanes doing television games in substitution for a great broadcaster called John Forsland. But once 2020 hit, my time in Charlotte ended. And they let me go, and I wanted it to continue on, obviously. So Utica had an opening, and I wanted to work for Robert Esch, and that's what I ended up doing. So I've been here for 2 seasons now.
Perfect. And of course, you cover the Utica Comets, and I know a lot has been said and written about this record-setting and just honestly fascinating start that they have had this season. So 13-0-0-0, it's definitely catching the eye of everybody around the league and around the hockey world in general. What was it like just kind of behind the scenes? Was there like a lot of talk in the locker room, or were the players just kind of, well, we're still taking every game as it goes? Just what was the temp around that organization?
So I think at first, you just string some wins together and no one really thinks that much of it until it started to become a little more serious when you're starting to get to 7 or 8 wins in a row. And then you start to hear about the record, best start ever. Could they possibly do it? And then, you get injuries, you get call-ups. You're thinking, well, we're probably going to lose this game, right? And then you just keep winning. And you win in dramatic fashion. With that game in Laval, we were going into the third period. I think we were going into the third period up by a goal, end up down a goal. And so Laval's got all the momentum. You're thinking, well, all right, you're going to lose this game. And you end up winning the game in regulation. At that point, I started to think something special was happening. And I continued to see a team that was, Coach said at one point in a press conference that it wasn't something they were hush-hush about. They were open about it. They wanted to talk about it. And they did. And what was the two things that really I'll probably never forget: the game against Charlotte to win and get the record. And they started off that game not great. And I could say I've seen them play enough to go, okay. I hate to use a collective emotion for individuals, but it was a nervous start for an entire team. I'm thinking, all right, maybe they just let it get to them, down by 1 early, and then couldn't score. I think we went into the second period and finally got one, Nate Schnarr, then another one. And then you get a third, you're up with an empty net and the place is going crazy. And they're chanting at the end, undefeated. The whole crowd is 4,000 people jammed in there. And I became emotional. It was it was overwhelming because that in 85 years of the American Hockey League, that has never been done before. So I don't know what the math is. What's 85 years from now? If it takes 85 years again, imagine it happening then in the year 2300 or something stupid. I don't know what it is or whatever, whatever it is. So it was amazing. And then they win the game and I have to, I have duties and responsibilities there. So I'm in the room and it's like guys are hugging each other and everyone's giving each other, high fives, and it wasn't just a normal win. They knew history was made. We had made history on that day in a league that's been around for 85 years. To make history is not easy to do outside of winning a championship, but that was a moment that I don't think anybody will ever forget.
And I know you've called some remarkable games, really. I think you were part of one of the longest games in AHL history, if I'm not mistaken. But overall in the run, has it been your kind of favorite stretch of play between two sets?
Has this been my favorite set? Is that what you're saying now? Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the longest game, and I saw Bob Roadtruck, who was calling that game for Lehigh Valley that day, and we both said the same thing after that game. It was amazing to be part of it. You're part of AHL history. I never ever want to do that again. So I never want to call a 5 overtime game in my career. And this little segment here is one of the most remarkable segments of my entire career, without question. It's something to win an entire cup. Don't get me wrong. That's the pinnacle. That's the peak. That's what everybody in this league wants. But you get these little bursts during your career where there are unforgettable moments. And that's what makes it really, really cool.
And it looks like goaltending has been really, really well in Utica so far. We talked about Schmid, who's had a .951 save percentage, and Nico Dawes is right behind him. Tell us a little bit about those rookie netminders.
So when if it was all written out on paper, let's say theoretically we would have had Scott Wedgwood and Nico Dawes, the rookie, and you have your veteran, guy up front, maybe taking 2 of every third, starts, and you have Nico learning the way. Of course, it only works out on paper, right? Then in reality, you don't have the goaltending tandem that you thought. So now you have two kids who have, and Nico played last year a little bit in the DEL, and Akira's playing in the USHL. So he's playing against teenagers, and you're thinking, well, all right, this is our Achilles heel because we don't have the goaltending experience. And the truth is, they've been the guys who have been extraordinary and playing to a level that I think is no one would have expected. And it's really, how can you expect it? Now, Akira's numbers were phenomenal in the USHL, but it's different when you're playing against pros. It's different when you're taking shots against guys like Chase DeLeo in practice. You're not taking shots against him in the USHL at this point. So I am amazed at their poise. I'm amazed at their demeanor and how they let the game come to them. I don't know why a 20 and 21-year-old goaltending tandem can be this at ease with everything, but it is so fun to watch. And they're battling each other. And I don't pretend to know the players personally, even though I'm around it all the time. I'm just around in a professional sense. But they seem to get along very, very well.
Jason, I want to dial it back a little bit, back to the summer, back to the off season. When the affiliation changed from Vancouver to the New Jersey Devils, suddenly your home team goes from being 3,000 miles away on the other side of the continent to just a little over 200. How did that new affiliation really help shape the team's identity, and how did the fans embrace it?
Well, let me answer the second part first. So the fans embraced it immediately, and it was very, very cool because, yes, you're right. It's now a regional connection, 3 hours away, I believe it is. And there's a you can watch those games in Eastern time zone. You know, Vancouver's games are happening here that would be starting at 10 or 10:30 at night. You lose a little bit of the connection between the two cities, but it's been great. The identity of a team, I think, though, is totally shaped by the players on the ice who Dan McKinnon and Tom Fitzgerald ultimately signed, but also by Kevin Dineen and his coaching acumen. And I have been incredibly impressed with what Kevin has been able to do and the way that a coach who has that much experience is able to guide the team on certain days off, knowing when to push, knowing when to lay back a bit. That all comes with experience. It all comes with a guy who's been around a very long time and has reached the highest levels in his career. So I really think that Kevin is someone I tip my hat to because I've been around a lot of great coaches in my career. I think he's done a phenomenal job so far here in Utica.
All right, big praise for Coach Dineen. So to get on this kind of start to the season, you really need all hands to be on deck. But who do you find has been the biggest surprise contributor for the Comets so far in this run?
Oh, surprise contributor. You know who I absolutely love watching is a defenseman named Riley Walsh out of Harvard University. And I'd never seen him play. Maybe I saw him play one time against us in Binghamton last season, but that doesn't do anything for you. I am really impressed with his poise. I'm really impressed with his ability to hold onto the puck, wait a moment, and make the right play rather than, panicking and just throwing it up the boards. I'm impressed with his ability to get pucks through traffic. And I still think that there's a lot more of his game. He's not a gigantic defenseman, but there's a lot of skill there. And the other one, too, is a kid named Graham Clark, who looks like he's about 14 years old. He's so young. And I thought, boy, before the season started, I'm thinking, is this kid going to be able to hang in an American league that's now, full on? And I was worried. And then I watched him in the exhibition game, and I thought, oh, this kid, there's something there. And then as the season went on, I've been more and more impressed with his ability to play. He's out there with two big guys. You got Frederick Gauthier out there with him. AJ Greer's been out there with him. Two big kids who kind of give him some room. But I really think those two kids are players to watch for Utica.
Yeah, and kind of as we said, it's been an all hands approach, and as anyone who's been listening to our podcast knows, we've been talking a lot about Utica. They've been playing some great hockey to start off here. But it's a long season, and this division is super hyper competitive. As we get into the meat and bones of it, who do you think is the biggest threat to kind of break the Comets' stranglehold on the lead in the division?
Well, I really like the way Rochester plays. I do. I think Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is by far, I'm going to take the two kids out of Utica's side. He's the best goalie I've seen in the American League, and I loved him last year. And if he doesn't play in the NHL, then I guess I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. He's such a good goalie. And the game that we lost, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I don't know if he was the first star. I think we gave it to Brett Murray because he had the game winner in the third period. But in all reality, Luukkonen was the reason we don't have an undefeated record right now. He's that good. And I am really, really impressed with Rochester and their players. And, Jack Quinn and Krebs and Michael Mersch is a leader. That's a good team. The other one is Toronto. You're going to say that every year, regardless, right? Toronto, and they're probably $10 million payroll in the American League. They have great draft picks. They have great players. They always put it together. Well-coached team. They could have stopped our streak. They could have in our building. But we got the goaltending. We got the timely goals. But I would say just those two teams right there.
Well, I know on my side, I'm our Cleveland Monsters correspondent, and I know we in Cleveland will be seeing you guys here very soon, including for the annual holiday teddy bear toss game. So if you could just convince the goaltenders to let Cleveland get one past them so we can at least have that, that would be great, because that's always a good time. So I think that kind of wraps up our questions. But if you don't mind, we do have a little bit of a rapid fired segment just to get your thoughts about a few different topics.
Bring it on, whatever you got.
So, all right. So, in your mind, who's the best forward on the Comets?
Oh, I have to say Chase DeLeo. Although I have to say he only had 1 point in his last game, not his usual 2 or 3. So maybe he needs to turn it up a notch. The kid's unbelievable. He must be playing the best hockey of his career. He's a multi-point per game guy at this point in the American League. It's really impressive. And
Utica just got him back too. So more firepower. Okay, how about you kind of touched on defense, but who is the best of the best there?
we have really good D up and down. I do think Riley Walsh, we mentioned him already, but let's not forget Robbie Russo, who's won a Calder Cup in this league, and his contributions to Grand Rapids. And of course, in Detroit, when he played in the NHL, Robbie Russo is a very calming influence back there. And I've liked his game from the get-go.
And we talked about the change in affiliations, but out of all the players that left from last season, which one is missed in Utica the most?
Oh, I think because Mike DiPietro was so loved in the community and amongst not only the staff of the team who loved him, the fans too. Such a personable guy. I didn't know him that well because I got to know him for a brief moment. But I would point to him. Excuse me. I would also point to a kid who I loved watching in goal last year named Joel Hofer. Boy, I just think that kid's got NHL #1 written all over him. And he, for me, as a goalie, I'm a nerd goaltender too. So I love to watch him play. So impressive. And I think he got his first NHL win and his first NHL start earlier this year. So that's me personally. I do think in the community, Mikey DiPietro.
And your most memorable call?
In my career, without question, I would say Doug Hamilton's overtime game winner against the Philadelphia Flyers in Raleigh in one of the more exciting games I've ever called in my career. So that was my first NHL overtime victory. And I called some NHL overtime games and didn't get wins. But Dougie Hamilton's call is the one that I am most proud of because I think I nailed the goal call and it was on the biggest stage in the NHL.
Turning back to the AHL, who's winning the Calder straight out?
I mean, you want me to be honest with you?
Let's do it.
If I had to bet, like if I tell this to people all the time, I'm going to bet on games in the league, which I don't do. I don't gamble. You have to have money to gamble. But anyways, I would lose so much money gambling in the American Hockey League. My predictions are horrible. I couldn't predict our games and I have all this information. I'm horrible at it. So I have to put Utica aside. Okay. I have to. Yep. Because it's unfair. But I would say, like, look out for Rochester. If that team can really become a cohesive unit, come together like I think they are. I don't really think that they have many missing pieces. I think they're very, very dangerous in the back end, and I think they have the capability of scoring with 4 lines. So I'm impressed with Rochester. I think Rochester and Utica will battle all year, and it will be a tough game every single time they play each other.
Who's your favorite play-by-play person in the AHL?
In the American Hockey League?
Yeah.
Well, that I can't do that. I can't tell you my favorite. I have so many great friends. I haven't seen Shave since we played in the finals, and I'm a Jason Shaver, and I miss him so much. Although we talk constantly. Joe O'Donnell is my buddy. I'm going to start weeping now because Joe made it to the NHL. I'm so happy for him. I love that guy. I haven't seen Bob Kaiser in years, and I miss him so much. There's so many great names. Now I'm going to start naming names. Now I'm going to forget guys. I'm going to have to go up and down the entire. I'm one of the few guys that's been around the league, both conferences on multiple occasions, so I know so many of them. But I have a lot of great friends who are broadcasters, and I love them all. We're all unique in our own way, but at the same time, we're all the same.
What about a favorite play-by-play person in the NHL?
My favorite, I would say my biggest influence, and a guy I'm really lucky to call a friend, is Ken Daniels of the Detroit Red Wings. I've known Ken since even before I started, and just getting every time I get a chance to talk to him, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. And he's such a sweet man, and he's such a good play-by-play guy too. And John Forsman was really influential in getting me to the NHL to fill in for him. I'll never forget what he did for me. And of course, I think him amongst the best broadcasters in the world. And then I have to also say Brendan Burke, who we started together pretty much in the ECHL. And Burke, I don't know if you know, but Burke, he's gone on to be one of the best broadcasters in the NHL as well. Just a little bit of a job there on TNT and the Islanders. There probably isn't anybody better at his craft than Burke is.
So if Utica goes on and wins the Calder this year, are you going to celebrate by getting that second light in your living room?
No, I look around my apartment. I won't show you my apartment. To what else can I throw away? I don't know if there's a word for it. I have no furniture, almost no furniture. I have a little chair and a bed on the floor, but I don't like anything. I don't like any clutter. Everything that I don't need doesn't exist in my realm. So no, there's no second light coming.
And there you have it. I love it. Well, Jason, on behalf of all of us here at the Holy Grail, we thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been great having you on, and thank you for all of your great insight into Utica and their amazing start to this season.
You guys do a fantastic job. Keep it up. And I want to say thank you for having me. And anytime you need me back, I'll be there.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate that.
All right.
Thanks,
See you guys.
All right. Take care. All right. Well, that was a wonderful segment. Again, Jason, pleasure was all ours. Thank you so much for being on. And Jeremy, are you back? Do you have your microphone working?
Testing.
Hey!
I was like,
Welcome to
let
the
me
show.
not ask a question during the segment and then be mute again. So yes, I'm back, friends. How's it going?
Wonderful. It's
Short little
you were all
penalty count.
tucked down in the corner, and it's like, oh my gosh, poor Jeremy. He's not getting in on this amazing segment here. But all right. Well, do you want to go ahead and just do a quick introduction since we kind of vamped a little bit, and now the spotlight is all you.
Well, you know how I do in the spotlight, right? So what's up, everyone? I'm Jeremy. I am out of the box. Well, actually, y'all tried to keep me in the box, not y'all, the Holy Grail, but y'all StreamYard. And so now I'm back. After last week's absence, I cover beat for the Rochester Americans for our site, and absolutely love hopping on here with you all on the Holy Grail. I also just Jason is really important, I think, to the AHL and to the sport of hockey and just to sports broadcasting. And so really happy to have him on the show. That was an honor.
Oh, he was such an amazing guest, and so just such great insight. And I'm just tickled pink that he was able to make time to bring it on. But a lot of great praise for not only Utica but Rochester there. We got to keep a better eye on them, I think.
No
I
doubt.
think Jeremy's got it lucky.
I'll tell you what, yeah, not too mad about it.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get on with the rest of our show here. First of all, we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the week. Well, actually, some breaking news first. We're a little bit out of order today, but that's all right. So, breaking news again. It's a new week in the American Hockey League, and we've got a new trade to announce. And once again, guess who's going the other way? Our favorite future considerations. This time it is Cole Sherwood, who's actually moving from the Belleville Senators down to the Nashville Predators organization. The 24-year-old has 1 goal and 3 assists in 13 games this season for Belleville. He has also played with the Cleveland Monsters. That's who he was with up until he signed in Belleville this offseason. And now he's got a new home in Nashville or in their AHL affiliate. So that's Milwaukee, I believe. So beware, Cleveland Monsters fans. You're going to be probably seeing Cole Sherwood again this weekend.
I feel like we need a future considerations air horn noise. I just feel like we need that for the
You must invest.
Beware the future considerations. All right, so let's go ahead and just do our week in review here. Again, another week, we have a new AHL Player of the Week. This time, we're going out to the way West Coast and the San Diego Gulls. They have a forward, Braden Tracy, who notched 3 goals and 4 assists for 7 points in 3 contests. And he was a really key role in getting the Gulls to extend their winning streak to 5 games now. He had 2 goals in the third period this past Wednesday night, and then added an assist for the first 3-point game of his career. So that is your new AHL Player of the Week.
And you got to think that he's a part of that amazing run that's been happening in San Diego.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. But now we're going to go to a little bit more serious news, and that we are getting quite a few postponements in the American Hockey League and just, hockey in general. There's starting to be, it seems like a bit of a surge with COVID protocols kind of taking players and frankly whole teams out of the lineup right now.
Yeah, this Wednesday we had 3 games canceled. We had Hershey and Lehigh Valley, or I should say postponed, not canceled. Postponed. Hartford, they're battling some cases. They're postponed against Springfield. And the most recent one was Bakersfield at Stockton. And you're just seeing, unfortunately, just this rash of positive tests and these teams getting stuck in the protocol. And you got to imagine how concerning that's got to be for not obviously the AHL clubs themselves, but for the parent clubs up in the NHL. For example, I know the Islanders themselves have been having a rough time in New York, but the Bridgeport Islanders have been battling their own positive cases as well. So it's just you kind of figured that we got on a little too smooth and this was going to catch up with us eventually. But I think it was just the rate at how quickly these postponements came on by and just the number of them. And I know we've all been kind of very, grateful that we're getting, these packed houses and these hockey games and everything. But this is kind of a hard slap of reality that, whoever thought that this thing was over, we're not even close.
And you also have to think, too, that with this new variant that's been announced over the past couple of days, that there's definitely some kind of precautions that these teams are taking and, not trying to risk any kind of transmission whatsoever sort of thing, because we all know what it's like. It's like a domino effect out there in a lot of these situations. So I would think that there would be COVID protocols either way, but they're definitely a little bit more cognizant now that there's a couple new variants kicking around.
And the other thing I have to wonder too is like, to what extent do future things start to be like questioned? I mean, we don't really talk about the Olympics in terms of the AHL, but I think about the All-Star game in Laval. What is that going to look like? Especially because I know the Canadian government has been at times more proactive than the American government in terms of, limiting attendance at things and all of that kind of deal. And so I'll be interested to see how that is also affected, right? Like I know it's, as this is released December, but February is not too far away, and who knows what could happen.
Yeah, and I saw earlier on, as we're recording this, it's Tuesday, but earlier on today, the NHL had released a memo to its team saying that, okay, any holiday celebrations you guys have, they are now canceled. You need to warn your players not to have large family get-togethers over the holidays. Any kind of like events that the players have, out in the public, those are done. We're not, we have to buckle down on this. And as the NHL does, the AHL follows, and usually it's done on the flip side too. If the AHL does something, usually it's because of a guide, a direction from the NHL. Or, if the AHL does something, sometimes the NHL goes, hey, that's a great idea. We're going to kind of pick up on that too. So at what point does some of, like Jeremy said, like what events are going to be impacted here? So it's a scary situation. Hopefully we don't have to take, scale it back to the point that it was during the very short 2020-2021 season, but it's definitely something we have to keep an eye on now, because it's real and it's here. It's making an impact.
You'd have to think too that because the American Hockey League is such a bus kind of league, that they're a lot closer than the NHL would be. I'm sure that they're having a lot more of these team gatherings and sort of things, because they are such a close knit kind of squad, and there's so many people coming in and out, whether it be AHL, NHL, moving up, down, up, and around. So it would have to be kind of you had to kind of have to think about it that way too, that it's more transmissible.
Unfortunately, yeah. It's something I don't kind of want to think about, but we kind of have to. But another quick little debate that we can kind of have here, but we do need to kind of talk about the fall from the NHL for two huge names in the hockey world. Huge for one reason or another, but for better or for, well, worse. Matt Murray of the Senators organization, and then Evander Kane from the Sharks organization. Both players have cleared waivers within the last week, now find themselves as members of their AHL teams.
Yeah, this is just kind of the reality of like the salary cap world. I think that when Ottawa just feel like they've been in a perpetual rebuild ever since that run where they were nearly one goal away from the Stanley Cup final. They've been found themselves in this situation where they just can't get back up on their feet. And I think they're going to try and move some players around. And when you got to move contracts around, you got to work your way around the salary cap. And this is just one of those unfortunate things for a guy like Matt Murray, a two-time Stanley Cup champion who just finds himself having to work his way back. It's unfortunate, but it's just the way it is, and the reality of NHL in this year 2021-22.
And I mean, I know the Vander Kane situation is a little unique, but he kind of went to different hockey markets where he was desired to be there, right? I think there was a time when Winnipeg did want him there. I think there was a time when Buffalo did want him there. And I think there was a time when San Jose was probably wanted him there. So I think that it has to be a little hard on yourself when you get sent down to the AHL, especially after being a veteran for so many years and being so accustomed to being almost wanted in that organization and wanted to be on that roster, that opening night roster. So, I mean, for Vander Kane, it's got to be a little tough morally.
Yeah, the whole situation is just, I mean, that's kind of why I said for better or, well, worse, because I mean, honestly, I mean, if you look at, say, Matt Murray's pedigree here since he came into the league and won two Stanley Cups in like his first two seasons.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah, and he was kind of a backbone, in the backstop there. Whenever Fleury couldn't compete, he was there, and he gets, he goes off to Ottawa, and they're thinking, hey, we've got our guy in the crease, for the foreseeable future, and it just doesn't work out. But such as the reality and professional sports, and especially in a salary cap era, it's what you have to do sometimes. So, all right, so we're going to move over to a little bit more happy news, and we do want to extend a congratulations to Iowa Wild's head coach Tim Army, who has hit the 100 win mark, courtesy of a 2-1 regulation victory by the Wild over the Henderson Silver Knights. So, congratulations, Coach Army. Well done. All right. Now, Andrew, I'm going to kind of pass it off to you here. We're going to move on to the oof of the week, and yeah, take it away.
Yeah, any Griffins fans that are tuning into this one, you might want to just want to scroll forward for the next couple minutes. We're going to revisit Friday night's. I don't really know what to call it, because the first two periods for the Griffins were great. They're going up at home against the Chicago Wolves, the cream of the crop in the division. They're up 3-0 40 minutes in, and first two professional goals for Jared McIsaac. Kyle Criscolo's out there with another one, really making things happen. And they kind of just look like they're taking us home, and then Chicago gets one. Oh, okay. And then they get one on the power play, and you start thinking like, well, okay, but Grand Rapids, they're a tough team. They don't give up anything easy. They got Calvin Pickard, again, as I said, best goalie in the league. And no offense to the Utica tandem or to UPL. I'm just gonna stick with UPL. So we're now into 2 minutes left in the game. Still holding that 3-2 lead, still holding on, and then the Wolves get one. And okay, it's not bad. The Wolves get one. It happens. Still just a couple seconds left. Got to get into it. And 20 seconds later, the Wolves take the lead. Andrew Podorowski tops it off with an empty net goal. 5 third period goals later, the Griffins lose 5-3. Oof.
Can I just say that I'm happy that I didn't make the oof of the week? I spent the last week recovering from my serious burn issues, okay? I am happy that Grand Rapids, they did what they had to do.
I'm gone for a week, and you literally set yourself on fire.
Yeah, no, like I said, we got to raise the bar on this one. No, the Griffins did a wonderful job of their own of burning their hand on that one. That was a tough one, especially with Grand Rapids kind of in the middle of the pack in the division. I mean, that's points. That's points that's just slipping away. And I wasn't available for the press conference after the game. It was the day after Thanksgiving. We're all, doing our holiday festivities with the family. I can't imagine Ben Simon would have been none too happy. I'm kind of glad. I think I dodged a bullet not being available for that one. Coach Simon, I can't imagine what would be going through his head. That was a tough one.
And Zach, you're very welcome, but I kind of figured you had enough pain and you didn't need any further reminding of what happened on the podcast last week.
That was probably the worst night of my life. Like, trying to go to bed after that podcast was just not a possibility. That was, but I'm happy that Stuart Zimmel was able to celebrate his birthday in style on the podcast. We look forward to seeing him again next year.
I appreciate the sacrifice, because like the graphic of how painful it was for you versus how entertaining the episode was is directly correlated. So it was an all-timer.
It was good content. It was good content. As an outside observer for that one, big fan.
All right. Well, we're going to actually move on to my favorite piece of content for the show. And there are no surprises this week that I know of, you guys. So let's try to keep the lighters, keep the candle lighters. Keep all sources of flame put away. And we're going to move on to the swipe left or swipe right segment. Swipe left or swipe right, kind of just like your dating app. We're going to give a hot take. Swipe right if it's good, super swipe up if you really like it, or if you don't, we're going to swipe left.
And a weird recording day because we're recording in the month of November, but it releases in December. So I feel like our super likes are they reset or are they not reset? What's the rule? And did people leave super swipes on the table in the month of November?
I got 2 last episodes, so I'm not really gonna like go ahead and say a whole lot. I'm like I got my fill.
Fair.
I would say since technically it's the episode that will be airing on December 2nd, that this can go ahead and reset.
All right.
Ooh.
Well,
Stakes are high again.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and ignore your advice, Deana, because I'm coming in with a fire take on this one. And Jason kind of he gave his praise. I mean, you heard exactly what he said about Coach Kevin Dineen for the Comets. Just nothing but just pure class, and it sounded like he's already on his way. And here's my take. After this great start and this unbelievable run that Utica's had, next October, Kevin Dineen's going to have himself a job in the NHL.
I'm going to swipe right. I'm just going to jump right in and say I'm going to swipe right. And I think just for fun, I'm going to be a little bold and say where. Oh, no, not the fire.
That's a hot take. Well, I'm using it safely, so I can do that.
Fair. I'll just make it a little fun. I think he's going to be in Chicago. He's been an assistant coach there. They're going to need a coach. Vancouver's going to need a coach. I don't know. I see him in either one of those spots.
Does he speak French?
I think so, yeah. He's from Quebec City, I think. He's
That is right.
That is
so.
right.
Just
So
expanding his resume, keeping his job options open. I like it.
I think for me personally, I'm very, very tempted to super like this one, but I'm definitely gonna. I'm definitely going for it because I think that he's gonna end up somewhere. I think that the AHL playoffs will be a really good indication because I think you do see that a little bit of that correlation with how they did in the season and especially how they perform in the playoffs. So I think it'll be probably not in New Jersey because they seem to kind of have things figured out for the first time in a long time. But I think that we'll see him somewhere in the NHL at some capacity.
I too am very tempted to use my super swipe on this one, but definitely swiping right. I truly agree on this one. I mean, he's done his time in the American Hockey League. I think I'm honestly surprised that his contract with the Gulls didn't get renewed, but you have to think that they are probably kicking themselves for that decision right now.
All right, 2 super swipes last week, 3 right swipes this week. I am officially on fire. In a figurative sense, not in a literal.
It's just really close to your hair. Like it's just like really close to a Michael Jackson Pepsi commercial moment, and I just can't. I don't know if we could even air it. I don't know, and I would hate to waste that content.
It's deceiving with the red hair. It already looks like it's on fire. So when you get the flame going, like it just blends right in.
Just be careful. I'm sitting here and like cringing. Like, no more. All right.
I'm putting it away.
Well, I don't have any candles or anything like that. I just have my fabulous ring light right here, and I don't think my take's that fire, but here's mine. So Lehigh Valley, to say the least, has struggled this season. In the first 18 games, they have a grand total of 3 wins. My hot take is that they finished dead last in the league and will finish with under 15 wins total.
That's So I'm just taking these stabs to the heart because again, pick Lehigh to win the Atlantic in the preseason. And I did the math because I looked at this and I was just thinking like, so for their current pace, right? They have 3 wins in 18 games. Good Lord. And if they continued that pace, I believe that would give them 10 more, I think, rounding up over the next 58. That's rounding up, who knows with Lehigh. And they would finish out with 13. I agree that they'll finish in the tank of the league. Yeah, my tone's changed a little bit since October, but I gotta swipe left just for the pride of Lehigh. You can't do this. 15 wins? Come on.
They might.
They might. That's the sad part about it. They might.
If you look at stuff, right, like they've scored 41 goals in 18 games. So they're looking at just a shade over 2 goals a game. They've let up 60, which is it's not the worst in the league, I don't think. And so it's like they could probably win a few that they probably shouldn't. And I think that might put them over the 15. It kind of is like giving me Zach predicting that Utica would only lose 13 games all season energy. Like that's kind of where it puts me at, like where I'm like, I agree that Utica is probably going to win the most games in the league, but I don't know if they're going to only lose 13. Now they're 15-1, and who's a fool now? But like, no, full chaos. I'm gonna swipe right. full chaos. I'll subscribe.
Yay!
Can you imagine though if like one team had just as many like losses in that way, it was so low, and then the other team had like just as many wins and it was like so high?
I was thinking like 30-30, cool. Like, right? Like,
yeah.
40-40,
like
nice.
13-13.
10-10.
I don't think anybody can really hold a candle to them in the bottom of the league. But I mean, I can't. I think they're going to get out of this slump, really. And I think that if they don't, there will be some changes somewhere along the line. You don't really see a whole lot of AHL coaching changes midway through the season. I don't know why, but losing this many games could be a put the fire under someone's butt to kind of take that on.
All right.
I love Deana's delayed reaction to the candle joke.
I know. I like reasons again why you need to subscribe to the YouTube so you can watch Deana click in her head the candle joke being made.
By the time I get to recording this on Tuesday nights, my brain is so fried that sometimes it takes a minute for things to sink in. And please, no blonde jokes. That is my natural color, but I swear I'm not the stereotypical blonde most days.
Absolutely not. Well, we've touched on it a little bit so far in the episode, just in terms of the weirdness of players getting sent down, specifically players that are waiver eligible and not being claimed. So again, Evander Kane, Matt Murray finding their way down. My hot take is that this is going to become kind of the new normal in the NHL and the AHL, because the amount of really, really good elite young talent that's entering the NHL is putting a lot of pressure on a lot of these older veterans who might not necessarily be playing poorly. They might be slumping, but they're just not finding a place on their team, right? Like there's not a role for them. And instead of, being claimed by a team that wants to take a chance on somebody, it's hard to take a chance on somebody who's got a $5 million cap hit in a flat cap era, right? Or as we're recovering from a flat cap era. And so my hot take is that you're going to have to get used to this because it's going to be happening more frequently than not. Not sitting here saying that, people the likes of Patrick Laine or Jacob Voracek are going to be playing in Cleveland anytime soon, but I think you'll see it more often.
I think you made a really good point with the flat cap and what that's done in this whole pandemic and the damage that it's wrought on the league. I think that and a lot of teams sign some players to some mega deal thinking that the cap's going to go up, and then it doesn't. That puts some teams in some very tough situations and makes some GMs have to make some really terrible calls. I'm going to swipe right on this one because I believe some point, maybe not sooner, but eventually you're going to see someone like John Tavares in a Marlies jersey because of a monster contract and a cap that's not going anywhere. When he's like, if his body doesn't hold up on him, you're talking $11 million. That's a lot of money for a team like Toronto. That's going to be, you got guys like Nick Robertson coming up that need the spot, and you need space to move and acquire players, and it's tight. It's tight. Maybe I was a little excessive with the Tavares reference, but it could happen. It can happen. It can happen. Some kind of nightmare scenario is going to happen. I can't envision it right now exactly, but something. So I'm going to swipe right on that.
I was about to do a wellness check to make sure that you were okay down there. Like the air was okay at the bottom of whatever bottom of the screen this is. Like you don't actually. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. But yeah, I think we see it with, like, I know for the Marlies standpoint, they had Galchenyuk down there last year, and then they tried to send Jimmy Vesey down there. That didn't really work out. And then like Carl Alsner, right? Like these guys who go down, and just because they couldn't afford it, Montreal couldn't afford Carl Alsner, and that's why he was like one of the most expensive AHL players that was during that season, right? So I think that this is going to be more and more for sure. Arizona can't pick up dead contracts forever, and so at some point, you got to start sending guys to the AHL.
I'll just say simply, swipe right, fully agree. Keep it short and simple.
So it's a little bit of a gimme because it's kind of my beat, but the North Division spots have been so close over the past couple of days, past couple of weeks really, and my hot take is plain and simple: 2, 3, and 4 will be some of the last spots to be decided in the whole AHL this year for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll swipe right on that. I mean, I said earlier that this division was going to be total chaos from beginning to end, and when you're tightly packed in like that, it'll be decided in the last day of the season who sits where. So yeah, I'm all about it.
Chaos, bring it on. Swipe right.
I'm going to swipe left. I think some things are going to start to become clear. I think Cleveland's going to make some moves. I think Rochester, I think you're going to start to see a little bit of separation between those 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Well, time will surely tell. All right. So are you guys ready to move on to the scoring races? See how some of our favorite AHLers have fared over the last week?
Yeah, let's go.
Well, Jeremy, this is all going to be about basically your Rochester Americans, most specifically Jack Quinn. He is now, yeah, surprise, he's now the leading points getter in the league. Who saw that coming? Surely not any of us.
Getting a lot of help from the St. Louis Blues. In that, they've completely taken Scott Pernovich out of the equation. But yes, yeah, Jack's skyrocketed, so good on him.
I'm sitting here going, how is Jack Quinn getting help from the Blues? And then you said Perunovich. Like, oh.
Does anybody ever forget that he's a defenseman? When you're looking at these stats, like I still forget he's a defenseman.
And the funny thing is he's number 4, and he's been up in the AHL for now, what, 2-3 weeks?
Right, like...
Yeah, that tells you everything you need to know, I think. But so Jack Quinn, great week. Andrew Podorowski had another super productive week. He actually jumped up from 4th to 2nd. And then our favorite, Martin Ferk out of the Ontario Reign, is now in 3rd with 20 points. Not too shabby, but Scott Perunovich needs to watch out because Jay Christensen is actually hot on his heels for the lead for the most points among AHL defensemen. Right now, only 3 points separate the two, and the way that Christensen has been playing, it's not going to take him long to rack those 3 points up. All right, moving on to top skaters and goals. Hey, guess what? Who's on top? Jack Quinn.
No.
You don't say.
Remember, he's a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
He is a rookie. And his teammate Michael Mersch is right behind him. Just, Jack Quinn's got 11 goals, Michael Mersch 10 goals. That Rochester team, I don't know. Wow.
It's just the guys who are scoring, right? Like they're like finding a way, and then you kind of like trickle down the lineup and you see where they're getting most of their points, right? It's on the first and second line, it's on the power play, and so I'll be interested to see. Weird things are kind of happening with Buffalo that have influenced Rochester, and so I'll be interested to see how those moves are going to affect things. I mean, like Brett Murray's up in Buffalo now. It's just like a lot of weird. So we'll see.
I can't believe how well they're doing on the man advantage. Like their power play unit is over 1 in 4. It's like 26%. That's insane.
That's Peyton Krebs, JJ Peterka, Jack Quinn for you. It's just nuts.
All right, moving on to the rookies here. So we're going to talk about the top point getters first, but here's a nice little stat for you. Currently, there are 10 rookie skaters that are currently scoring at a point per game pace or better, and those are just out of the rookies with a minimum of 10 games played this season. This rookie class is unbelievable. But you can imagine, Jack Quinn, of course, right on the top, and then Scott Perunovich, even though, like we said, he's been out, he's still hanging in at number 2. JJ Peterka, also out of Rochester, is in 3rd spot. And then, we got kind of a little bit of a logjam there. We got a few guys at 17, 16, 14, and 13. Nice, tight race there.
Yeah, don't forget about Braden Tracy coming in from San Diego. He had that big week, obviously, and he's the new name on the board. Some of these other ones, Marco Rossi, Tyler Angle, we've seen, but he's making his first appearance so far on the rookie leader scoring. So be interested to see if that was the result of just a hot weekend or if he's going to stay up here for good.
All right, now goals. We're just going to, before we dive into this one, we need to revisit a hot take from last week. So this was a hot take that 2 of us super swiped on. And that was that Alexander Holtz was going to be in the top 3 for rookie goals. Well, he's actually 11th, but that is up from 13th. So maybe that's where we got the number 3 from. So yeah, it's okay.
I did say he needed 7 goals to get tied for 3rd at least. And he's got 6, so I'd be interested to go and revisit some of the footage. Maybe there was a post in there and he's just, that quarter of an inch. And if you know what, I don't want to know that because then it'll just make me upset that it didn't go in and I couldn't come here and gloat about the hot take. So, yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
guys can figure that out. Keep it to yourselves, though.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of how tight this is. So, of course, Jack Quinn is in the lead with 11 goals. Scott Reedy out of San Jose is second with 8. And then you have Jacob Pelletier, Alex Steves, Lucas Reichel, Nick Sweeney, Cole Schwint, all with 7. And then Matthias Michelli, Jonathan Berggren, Lori Paginiemi, and then Alexander Holtz are all sitting there with 6. So it's very close. He could have very easily been number 3, but because the race is so close, he's not. And then goalie shutouts. Not too much new to report here. There are now 15 goalies with at least 1 shutout. Andrew Hammond's still in the league lead with 3. Now, very quickly, we're going to move on to the quest for the Holy Grail, the reason why all of us are here, just to check out how all of those teams are doing in the Atlantic. Springfield is still on top, with Hartford is very, very, very close second. Providence has leapfrogged the Bears, who are idle right now due to COVID protocol, and the rest of this division is status quo. And moving to the north, we've talked about how ultra competitive it is, but Utica obviously still number 1, Cleveland number 2, Toronto and Rochester actually switching spots. So Rochester number 3, Toronto number 4. In the bottom 3, Belleville moves from 7th to 5th place, Laval 5th to 6th, and Syracuse from 6th to 7th. So a lot of just the whole entire division is kind of in flux here.
Yep, 4-game win streak for the Senators kind of pulls them out of the basement. I was worried that they were going to start making a home there, but again, chaos. That's what we're here for.
Syracuse 2-8 in their last 10. It's tough.
I mean, honestly, right now, the winning streaks are the name of the game in the North. You know, Utica with 2, Cleveland with 4, Rochester with 3, and then, like you said, Belleville with 4 too. So it's going to be tough. Central Division, Chicago back up on top, regaining the lead over the Wild, and who has actually fallen to 3rd place. Manitoba comes in at 2nd. Grand Rapids still hanging on in the 4th spot. Rockford and Texas swapping 5 and 6. Milwaukee hanging low in the bottom spot. But here's a stat for you guys. Would you believe me if I told you that the Admirals currently have the 7th best power play in the entire league?
I'll believe most of anything that you tell me, Deana.
This year's been weird enough. I'll believe it. But they've given up so many goals. Everyone else is kind of hanging around in the mid 50s or high 40s, and they got 62 goals against. It doesn't matter how many you score if you can't keep them out of the net.
They're definitely looking at Rockford like, where did you go? I thought you were down here with me.
Come back.
The basement's so cold.
Well, now they can do a little bit of stargazing. It's okay.
Wow. That was elite. That was good.
Thank you. I'm here all week. Tip your waitress, please. All right, moving on to the Pacific. So Ontario has regained the lead over the Stockton Heat, who obviously felt bad about Zach, kind of taking the Heat last week and dropped to 2nd. But like we said, watch out. The Gulls are absolutely surging up the Pacific Division, jumping from 8th to 3rd, courtesy of a 5-game win streak. Henderson drops a spot to 4th. Tucson moves up 2 to 5th. Another division in flux. Bakersfield drops to 6th. Colorado drops just 1 to 7th. Abbotsford goes from Abbotsford drops from 5th to 8th, and the Barracuda, in the midst of a 4-game losing streak, is last in the division.
Now, weren't the Gulls one of the last 3 teams to win a game this season too? Like,
Yeah.
weren't they? Go back to like episode like 2 or 3 where we're talking about them, the Eagles, and I believe obviously Lehigh Valley. They're the last team to win a game, and yeah, I think did any of us pick them to like be the last team to win a game, and now we all look silly? Or
I think I did. I'd have to rewind the film again, but I think I did.
I'm thinking I picked Colorado, but yeah, I'm gonna have to review the film there. All right. Well, now that we talked about everything that has happened, how about what will happen? Games of the week, Atlantic Division, Andrew.
Yeah, I'll start us off. So this is hopefully everything in Hartford's okay, but if everything's all good, I'm picking Saturday's Utica at the Wolfpack. You know, I love my interdivisional games. You got the hottest team in the AHL versus a divisional hopeful that's looking to capture the title. And I like it that their parent clubs, the New Jersey Devils and New York Rangers, are rivals as well. I hope we get a little bit of that nastiness that seeps in here.
I'm going to go with Springfield at Rochester on Friday night at Zach's favorite time, 7:05 p.m. Over the last 5 years, Rochester is actually 2-0 on the series at home, but Springfield has the best record this season. Which will win out? We'll find out soon enough.
I'm personally going to be watching probably about. We talked about like how exciting the Battle of Pennsylvania and how exciting those were at the beginning of the season, and now they're all pretty like. I think the best team is Hershey, maybe like at 8-6-2-1, and it's just been kind of like sad in the state. And so let's watch some sad hockey. I'm gonna watch Hershey and Lehigh Valley on Saturday.
There you go. And if you don't want a game that starts at 7:05 and that involves Springfield, they are playing Toronto this Saturday. And I can't remember the last time that these two actually played. It's been a long, long time. Definitely 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons going back. So I think that I like to think that Toronto will have to see what the Thunderbirds have cooking up for this Saturday.
And as we move on to the north, I'm going to take a Monday game here. I'm going with Grand Rapids at the Cleveland Monsters. And the Griffins, they really need to grab some points out of the division to climb up into the standings here. But they're not getting an easy test. The Monsters are absolutely rolling. But last year, the Griffins kind of gave them a bunch of fits, and I want to see if they can do it this year as well.
To say that the Griffins gave the Monsters fit last season is an understatement. Oh my goodness. I don't remember if Cleveland even beat Grand Rapids at all last season. I don't think they did, but we'll see. And of course, I will by default be watching the Cleveland matches, but I'm also going to have my eyes on that Utica at Rochester rematch on Wednesday, December 8th, at again 7:05. There's really going to be some hard feelings there for sure. And yeah, I just think it's going to be a very exciting rematch.
Yeah, for me, I mean, a lot of good games in the North this weekend, but I'll be interested. Who knows if he gets to start? Obviously, Belleville's got a couple of good prospects that they want to make sure are getting playing time, but will Matt Murray get a start against Manitoba? I'll be interested to check that out, and so I'll watch that game on Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't know if Burden's still with Manitoba, but he's been real great with them. I know last season he was phenomenal, and he's been with them a bit too this season. But how about Rochester and Syracuse, two New York rivals? And I mean, for Syracuse, it's just trying to get out of that hole. They're 2-8 in their past couple of games, and Rochester's just really been blowing the roof off with their young prospects and the goal scoring race. So it'll be interesting to watch that.
As we go into the Central, I'm actually kind of giddy about this one because last year this was absolutely my favorite series, and we're getting 3 games this week. So you can take your pick. You got Thursday night, Saturday, or Sunday. Chicago Wolves, Iowa Wild. I mean, these two teams threw absolute hands with one another last year. Big fights, big hits, big goals, and a lot of them every single time. And the Wolves kind of took them to the shed for the most part all year long. But this year, this is the first time they're meeting, and they're both fighting for that top spot in the Central. So it's just going to be an absolute battle, and I want to see who's going to take advantage as they renew the rivalry.
Honestly, ditto. I was talking to Elaine Shercliffe, who covers quite a few AHL teams, including the Chicago Wolves, and she was telling me about some of the comments that their head coach had after the last meeting between Iowa and Chicago last season. So yeah, I'm very intrigued with this whole series. So just basically ditto everything that Andrew said.
Yeah, kind of going back to my little hot take swipe left on Zach's point about like the middle of the North being the hardest to decipher. I think Cleveland's got a real chance to start pulling itself away from some of the teams in the North this weekend. Obviously with the matchup that Andrew alluded to, but then also they're playing Milwaukee, as I talked about. As long as they don't take too many penalties, they'll be fine. Cleveland will be, and I think this is a good opportunity this weekend for them to take a stranglehold on second place in the North.
And I got to jump on the Grand Rapids Cleveland kind of night. And I think that not often you get to see a match on a Monday night, but again, we talked about Cleveland being able to set itself aside from other players in the North. So for them, I'll be looking for that on Monday.
All right, as we move on to the Pacific, I got Fridays and Saturdays games. San Diego going into Stockton, take on the Heat. And don't look now, Stockton, but the Gulls have won 5 straight games, and they're coming into their barn playing some really good hockey. I think Stockton's kind of got their spot in the top 2 secure, but I think a big weekend from the Gulls, if they can really carry this momentum, they could change that real quick.
So I do have one question. Why does it seem like every time I look at the schedule trying to figure out my Pacific Division game in the week that Ontario and Abbotsford are facing each other? At least that's what it seems like.
It's the aesthetically pleasing logos. They draw your eye to them.
Apparently. But I'm going to go with the Tucson Roadrunners and the Colorado Eagles. Both teams, as I talked about just a few minutes ago, are really close in the standings, and that always makes for a nice high-stakes game. So I'll be watching that.
I'm going to cheat a little bit here. We don't get too much Tuesday hockey in the AHL, but when we do, and it's in the Pacific Division, I always try to watch. So I'll flip between San Jose and Stockton playing, and then Ontario and Bakersfield. Again, you've got 2 of the top teams in that division playing, both at 6:00. I think it was 6:05. No, it's 6:30. So getting away from the OT5 for Zach, but yeah, I'll be watching those games.
I'll have to cover my eyes at the start time. Bakersfield and Henderson, that's going to happen on Saturday. I don't know if it's going to go ahead with COVID protocols and everything, but we don't really often talk about how teams bounce back after going through COVID protocols. I mean, does it kind of affect the morality of the players? So I think that's one of the little things that I'll be looking for is, do they kind of have that jump in their step because they had some time off, or do they get lost?
All right. We're just about done with the show, but we have one more segment, and that is the Holy Grail bonus round. Now, Andrew, as you won last week's bonus round, that means you have the honors this week. So what do you have for us?
All right. So, we've been talking Utica with this win streak of theirs, which, thanks to the Rock over here, the streak was ended at 13. But after you start the record process going, after you get that first one, you wonder, when's the next one? And I was curious as to how many they had to win to get the longest streak in the league's history. There's a lot of years in that history, and I want to know if any of you guys know, what was the longest winning streak in AHL history? This is not a Price is Right segment either. This is close. This is like golf, closest to the hole wins.
I thought they broke the record.
They broke the record to start the season, but I'm talking just longest win streak period.
What is it in the NHL? It's like 17 or 18 games. So, I mean, I'm thinking you've got to be around around, because even that seems ludicrous, right? Like, but I'm also thinking like how long ago, like how like, and I'm sure I can't actually ask that question, but if it's like 30 or 40 years ago, like where there's so much less parity in the game, like I could see it being a long number.
The Growlers recently broke the record. I know 2 odd years ago, and that was somewhere around 17, 18 games, 16 for the ECHL.
God, what do I want to do? What number do I want?
No, I can't like.
Oh, it's like
Can I
have
say
some
my
numbers.
number? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
go
I'm
go
going to say
ahead.
something crazy, and I'm going to go with 21. I think that the AHL is crazy enough to do that somewhere down the line. It was definitely like Hershey or something.
I'm thinking it had to have been like forever ago for it to be more. I'll go even crazier. I'll say it was like 40 or 50 years ago. It was like 25.
I don't think it was that many. I'm going to go with 17.
17. All right. Everyone's got their picks locked in. And so here we go. During the 2011-12 season.
Oh, so I'm way off.
Not as off as you'd think, Jeremy. The Norfolk Admirals set a professional hockey record for the longest winning streak, winning their 28th consecutive game on April 15th against the Adirondack Phantoms.
In 2011, 2012?
Yes.
28?
28
Gosh.
straight games. So,
Wow.
So Utica was just 15 away.
That's
Yeah,
impressive.
that was it. Yeah. So I
They weren't
looked and
even
I was like,
close.
oh, they weren't even close.
I wonder. Yeah, imagine Utica starts the season 41-1. That's what you're looking at. If they want, and at that point, I'm swiping right on Zach's take.
Does it say how many losses they had?
Not swiping right on that take, and I'm eating it. So,
Does it say how many losses they had by chance?
let's see. I'll see if I can take a look at their record. Well, they ended up winning their first ever Calder Cup over the Marlies.
55 and 18.
Wow.
A lot of wins.
That's impressive.
18 losses though. That's more than 13.
That's right. Yeah.
It is.
All right, so there's your benchmark. All right, Jeremy, congratulations. You went big and off of the home run, and you got it.
I'll tell you what. I'll stay away from festival lineups for next week. How about that?
Just as long as I don't have to mispronounce someone's name who's got like 50 million album sales again. So
I think you can do. I think you can do Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I think you can do it.
Well, now that I heard you say it, but you tell me on the fly, and my brain just went, oh, and I don't have like the regular listening experience like you guys do in the north. I'm out in the central, and again, thankfully he just got the quick UPL, and I can save myself from any kind of embarrassment. But
Better yet, try to spell it.
Well, there's a lot of K's in it, so I know he's good for points in Scrabble.
A lot of doubles happening.
Isn't it like
yes, like LUUKK.
KKALUUKKONEN? Or is there just one U? Is there two U's?
There's two U's in the last name. Yeah, that's like it throws me off every time I'm writing a story. Every time I'm writing a story, I'm like, surely I'm right, and I'm like, surely I'm not.
As you saw me temporarily freak out because I thought my green screen was going to fall on me. I think it's telling me it is time to wrap this one up. So that's going to be it for the Holy Grail for this week. If you like us, please subscribe, like, share, rate this podcast, and tell all of your friends about us. I mean, come on, we are obviously Utica Comets play-by-play approved. There you go. But if you really like us, be sure to give us all a follow on Twitter, and be sure to check out all of Field Pass Hockey's other podcasts. We have 2 league-centered podcasts in addition to this one, which is Inside This SPHL with James Hayes, the 3 Periods podcast with Matt Harding and Matthew Will, and we have 2 AHL team-centered podcasts with Syracuse Speaks with Alexander Ackerman, and Monsters Musings with Andrew Guarino, Jay Forster, and myself. And on behalf of my wonderful co-hosts here at the Holy Grail, we hope you have an amazing week, and we will see you all next Thursday. Bye-bye.
This has been the Holy Grail Podcast. Have a question or a topic suggestion? Hit us up on Twitter or drop us an email. For the latest news across the American Hockey League and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.